you're sitting behind there.
Thanks.
Yeah, Evan's got some really sexy mountains behind him. Welcome, everybody, to the live stream. We've got Evan Dixon coming to us from deep in the forest. We've got John Willis from the SOE studio, and I'm Nicole Sauce coming to you from the glamping studio at the Holler Homestead. And we're going to have a fun talk this weekend. This week. It feels like the weekend because everybody's already like mentally checked out for the big holiday, the big stuff yourself holiday. Do you guys have any big plans for Thanksgiving?
Shit, I didn't even know it was Thanksgiving. One of the girls leaving last night said, "Are we working Thursday?" And I said, "I am. Why would we not?" And she said, "Well, it's Thanksgiving." I'm like, "Okay, you guys can have Thursday and Friday off. We won't work."
Do any of them end up coming in anyway?
No, we don't. No, we don't open the gates. Like, you'll always have the gun ho ones. About half of them are like, "No, we want to work Friday. We want to work." But as soon as you tell them, "Hey, you don't have to," then none of them show. And we're not going to power everything up for, a couple of people typically. So it's nice to just be able to do whatever we want to do. Really, I think given left to my own devices, I think I would just not have employees anymore, really.
Yeah. But then you couldn't produce as much. Is that the issue?
I'm to the point almost where I don't have to. Like a lot of what we do right now is to maintain employees that have been here, 15 years, that have given us, 15, 20 years. And if they were like, "Hey, I won the lotto," like, I would completely change what we do at this point. We work a lot so that they can work.
Is there a chance you'll transition that way anyway?
Yeah, probably so eventually. Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a fun topic to talk about.
Well, we'll still maintain employees. Just it'd be different how we do it. We're going to maintain very high-end meticulous employees and just do individual custom type orders where they'll work more on their own schedule and such, and we won't have to maintain and open up the way we open up.
Could you do that like they could set up their own studio at home sort of thing?
Maybe, probably not. Maybe.
You could assign them a project and just say it's due in 30 days. Come knock it out for this much money.
No, we won't even manufacture in that aspect. We'll manufacture in that, "Hey, I want this diaper bag and these are the colors. Okay, here's the price." Yeah. And that's how we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was asking if they could do it from their own home. Like, studio is not the right word. Sewing factory.
Yeah.
I think about the people who are learning to sew from you, John, right now, because you've been sharing how you do things online and are starting to put out products.
And John's got me wanting to buy a sewing machine. He makes it so interesting.
Yeah, everybody's buying one. Suddenly it got warm in here.
I got thank God.
I watch Adam. Are we live?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I watch Adam Savage and think, man, I want to set up a studio with 800 kinds of super glue. Right. Then I go buy all that shit and I never set it up. Right. I love the idea of a really nice woodworking working studio, but I hate sawdust. It's like scuba diving, right? I lived on the beach, so close that the beach came in the complex sometimes. And I fucking hate sand. Like, I'll dive off of a boat, I'll dive stair entries, but I hate sand. I like the idea of woodworking, but I don't like sawdust.
Well, that's an integral part of it. Although there's a lot you can do to mitigate sawdust. Like Chef Brett is a woodworker, and he has all sorts of systems so that there is not sawdust everywhere. Yeah, he must hate it as well. He used to give me bags of that stuff back in the day for my garden.
Yeah, I think it's more that I want to bring people in and be like, "Look at my woodworking studio," but I don't want to actually do the woodwork.
Well, then you just need that woodworker person there in your woodworking studio. So you don't have to be there. You can just show it off, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
If you don't use it, it doesn't create any sawdust, John.
You're right. Yeah. I like that big dust collector and all the dropouts. And I like that. That's
actually like a super hazardous thing they discovered for woodworkers. That's why it's become so important to do dust collection, because it'll give you lung cancer if you breathe in wood for 50 years.
Well, plus most people are not going to have a dedicated studio for wood, right? So I mean, you know as well as I do, you take a 6-inch cutoff saw or something just to cut a 2x4, and there's dust all over everything. I mean, in the entire 4,000-foot garage, just from cutting one stick.
This is why we cut outside under Taj Mahal.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, there's a lot, like I'm living here because there's a lot of dust in there in the house, but it's not from cutting, but it's still dusty when you do work. So,
Yep. I can change my own oil too, but I don't want to do that. It just comes down to I can sit on a sewing machine for 2 or 3 hours and pay the guy that drives in here for 2 days and details all the cars.
Yep.
I can detail my cars. I don't want to detail cars.
We're all trying to get on your level, John.
Yeah, that is.
You are on my level, Evan. You got other shit you want to get right now, but you are on my level. I mean, you know as well as I do that you could sit for 5-6 hours and do custom programming on their radios and pay the dude that's going to come do the maintenance on your vehicle.
Yeah,
you're completely capable of it.
To Ed Milet talk about that with a guy who was saying, you shouldn't be. What can you cut out of your life and pay for that you shouldn't be spending your time on? But I like doing all that stuff. It's like a.
Well, then you keep doing it, man. Rob Bailey just bought a sawmill, and Aaron Singerman, owns Redcon One. Aaron's like, why are you cutting these 2x4s yourself? Why don't you buy them? But it's building content, right? It's content, and he's out there in the forest, and he just likes doing it. I totally understand it.
Yeah.
And I think once I have a sawmill and I cut about 20 pieces of wood, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm over this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amanda, what kind of apothecary do you need? You mean like the cabinet to store the things in, or do you want your own building that is an apothecary?
She wants her own building.
Condominium with a. Oh man. Well, I'm thankfully confined to this very small 8x16 office with no room to take on any new hobbies. So we're all safe. We're all safe for the moment.
You say that. How long will you be confined there, really? Like, I was once confined to an 8x14 camper where I roasted my coffee, and I am no longer confined.
Well, I could build more, but it's no pain, no gain, right? We got to start somewhere. So this is an upgrade. I was in a 7x7. Now I'm in 8x16. So we're killing it.
Plus, I mean, it as a new business, if you can take every single dime that you make and put it back into that business for 3 years, and people pull their hair out. They're like, oh my, I can't not go on vacation for 3 years. But if you can do that for 3 years, it's the difference between making millions of dollars a year and trying to break 100,000 a year. If you can put all of that money into that business, and most people are like, well, I do that, but my mortgage is $3,000. My mortgage is $2,000. People don't understand sleeping on the floor of the shop. They don't understand not having a house because everything is into the business. And when you do that, man, it is a vast difference of how you're going to live your life 10 years from now.
Yeah. From the outside looking in, we are living in poverty right now, but I don't care.
That's not what your bank account says.
I mean, do you have enough food to eat and everybody's housed and healthy?
Oh, for sure. It's it's amazing. My bank account's better than it was when we were on the paycheck plantation. So
plus you've been across the United States how many times this year?
Man, at least 2 if you add up all the trips. I feel like I'm gonna run the wheels off my truck.
Yeah.
You got any more trips before the end of the year?
Yes, we're doing Florida the day after Thanksgiving. I'm going down to Andrew Smirsek's place. We're going to do 0 to Hero in my first tactical radio operator class. So he's helping me pioneer that one. That's my next level class. So we'll enjoy the mild Florida weather after Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Awesome. So what's that class going to look like?
So we do one really fun big scenario in 0 to Hero at the end, that real super coordinated scenario with everyone in class. Tactical radio operator is 2 days of that. So just 2 days of scenarios. They build on each other in complexity. You add new capabilities, short range, long range, encryption, search and rescue, stuff that you don't really get to go do as a regular citizen. So it should be a fun time.
That's cool. So the first class is the prerequisite.
Yes, because
Nice.
I can't teach you everything you need to know how to do in a couple hours. So if you take 0 to Hero, you have your chops, you've got your fundamentals, and you've been through one scenario, so you kind of know what to expect, and then you're going to hit the ground running 2 days straight for tactical radio operator. And it's not tactical in the sense that there's any cool guy stuff with guns. I don't mean tactical in that sense. It's tactical, the true definition of the word, right? Using your skills and resources to accomplish an end. And I'm pumped for it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
That's cool. As soon as you move here to Camden, I'll have a communicator. So,
well, I'm gonna be moving there for part of the year next year. It looks like.
Really?
I've heard that. Yep.
Yeah. Got to nail that down. We got some fun stuff happening in 2024.
Sounds good. Are you allowed to talk about it yet, or is that just like you're seeding that? We're going to talk about that another time.
John
put
decides.
Put it out if you want to. Put it out there.
I think you should pitch what it is, but I'll be there for what John's about to talk about.
What is that clicking sound I'm hearing?
It might be the rain. It might be
got
the
it.
rain.
Yeah, I've got it too. So we're doing Homestead Apprentice. It's an apprentice program to be here at SOE as well as a few other businesses. We're bringing in young men. We're taking applications right now. The website is up, and it's going to kind of be a homestead skills, business skills, entrepreneur skills mixed with You're Fired, the Apprentice TV show. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're putting the framework is in place right now. And we've got a couple shorts out. Social media is all present for that. And we haven't really said what it is yet. We've just been putting it out there. But the numbers are working. Like, we're sharing it to our pages, but we haven't promoted any of the social media stuff. But the numbers are actually better on this Instagram page with 2 posts than my Instagram page with, 10,000 posts on it. So it's interesting to see the organic flow of a brand new social media account versus mine that's been there for 10 years now. So it shows me too that social media does work when you're not suppressed. So that's pretty cool too. And then Jeff has a new YouTube page also, and his is growing by leaps and bounds also. He hasn't said any of the the evil words that get you knocked down, and it's working well. So I don't know, you want to go past that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be an opportunity to learn a lot and potentially win some really cool stuff. Maybe a job, maybe a homestead of your own might be part of the prize. So the format's going to be a 2 or 3 day, what we're going to call the gauntlet, where we bring a bunch of guys in. You kind of compete for a spot in the main event. The gauntlet will be May 3rd. And the main events will start probably June 10th, and it'll be about 3 or 4 weeks for the main event. We'll do tons of different activities, and we'll train you. So you'll take 0 to Hero. You'll take maybe fighting pistol. We'll bring in experts to teach you chicken processing or coffee roasting or whatever might be relevant. But it's going to be, even if there was no prize, if I could make it happen, I would want to be there just for the chance to get the training.
Man, it sounds like a really good way for people who want to homestead, don't know what they're getting into, to get a flavor of it without having bought the land and decided they hate it, A.
Yep.
And B, that sounds like an awesome kickstart for somebody.
Yep. So
doesn't sound like it's designed for wimps, though.
No, there's a lot of physical. There's definitely a physical component, especially in the beginning, and that really came from Joel Salatin, listening to how he does their selection, And that's kind of how this all came together. Like, we had been discussing this in an intern program to bring in some people for employees, and it kind of evolved into this.
Well, that sounds really fun. How do people apply if they want to apply?
Just go to homesteadapprentice.com and you got to figure it out from there.
Yeah, there's no address. There's like, if you can't manage it, then you're probably not going to belong here anyways.
There's one button on the site that says apply. So if you can't figure out how to connect those dots, then
so you have to be able to read. Got it.
We've already had guys that had a dozen questions over this.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew Marie says, guys only. I told my husband I wanted to participate in Homestead Apprentice and he could watch me get booted immediately.
Well,
is that our Angie?
I don't know. Maybe. She's usually on under a different name, so it might not be.
The issue is housing people and making sure there's no added drama around
around housing.
Around
I got a glamper.
Things that happen.
It's about having separate housing and commingling.
Right.
Yeah.
It just removes, on this first one, it just removes any of the issues that could be.
That's fair. Okay. That's it. I mean, that just sounds really cool. Chef Angry wants to know, Evan, is there a way to stop an opposing Dorse from tracking you? Huh? Force. From tracking you via your ham radio. Guys, don't typo. I'll just read what you say, man.
All right.
Well, this is not that Angie.
You really do have to watch out for those opposing Dorses. They'll get
Dorses
you every time.
Dorses are scary, man.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you transmit out of a radio, that transmission can be detected by other devices, right? So if you intend to transmit, no, you can't fully prevent that being located. I've got some equipment, costs less than $600, that I can find your GPS coordinates in seconds. Now, do most people have that? No. So what it comes down to is define, what is an opposing force, right? Is that Joe down the street who's a meth head who wants to know when you're not home? Or is that someone who collects money from the population every year on their taxes, right? Like, those two people have different types of equipment, different resources. I cannot teach you how to avoid the latter. The former are easy to avoid. Use digital modes, use encryption, use data bursts, so they're really short. Because the thing is, if you don't have time to track somebody down, if their transmission isn't long enough, then you won't be able to find them. Another strategy, even in low tech, is after you communicate, move, right? Like, so don't transmit from base camp or from your house or from your hiding spot. Go somewhere else, do your transmitting, then move. And when they come looking for you, you won't be there. And that's a layman's version. There's lots more, but that's what I would say.
And on the ham thing, a lot of it's just fun to go find those guys, even if it's a dude keying up just to find the location. We got you,
Yeah.
And it's usually going to be an old dude that shows up, and it's usually he's not going to report you or any deal. Hey, go get your ham license or whatever. But it is a good test too. It's a good test between you and your friends to co-locate and find each other. What's that called?
That's DFing, direction finding. Yeah. But you can do it with really low tech, just a directional antenna, move it around until the signal sounds strong and chase that path till you find them. We're going to do some of that in class as a search and rescue, right? So it's not avoiding detection. It's, I want to be found. So I'll have what's called like a fox device that would be for a fox hunt that'll just repeatedly transmit, please find me once a minute, and you'll have to go find that little box in the woods. So depends, but not wanting to be found is a tough task to accomplish for sure.
So it's like a RF geocaching.
Yep. Very similar.
And I say all the time, the guy that's going to report you or the guy that's going to actually do future damage to you is somebody that looks just like you. It's not the crazy, it's not whatever you picture as the crazy opposite, like the liberal or whatever. It's the dude with the truck like yours and the stickers and the haircut and the same outfit. That's always the guy, man. We have done a really good job of just breaking each other into smaller and smaller groups. There is no commonality anymore. Everything has to be something separate. You got the gun dudes, and you got dudes mad at the guys open carrying. You got mad at the concealed carry guys. Don't have the sticker, have the sticker, wear the shirt, don't wear the shirt. It's always the guy that has the same shit and interest. The guy that's going to report you for a bump stock or whatever the illegal thing today is. It's some dude that you used to hang out with, most likely, or he wouldn't know you had that shit.
Yeah.
Is there a limit on age for contestants for the Homestead Apprentice program?
How old are you?
David, how old are you?
We are intentionally being very vague on this. You can apply. You can definitely apply.
Yeah.
And you can say no, and that's okay. Like, nothing is lost if you do that, guys.
I don't think age is even on the application. So I mean, it comes down to are you capable?
I've been on some shows lately where they're like, I've asked these people to come on my show, and I was afraid to ask. And I'm like, it costs you nothing to ask somebody to come on your show.
Yeah.
The worst you're going to get is a jerk says something mean, like, oh, well.
Yeah. We've met 16-year-olds and 13-year-olds that are much more capable than grown-ass men. You're going to have to there's a video component to it. I mean, just go on there and take a look.
Okay, Evan, I got a question for you. What is the SOS feature on radios? How and why does that work?
So it's different per radio, but the idea is there's a button I can hit that means I can alert anyone on that frequency or anyone within range of me that I need help. Unfortunately, on a lot of radios, it doesn't tell you who the heck is sending it. So all you know is I'm receiving an alarm, so somebody's in trouble. If you can put eyes on everyone, I guess that's helpful. But in a more sophisticated implementation, you're going to see the name of the person or the ID number and maybe a location. But the idea is, how can I non-verbally communicate that I have an emergency, I need help? And I typically disable that on most of the radios I'm using, but it could be handy in some contexts. I think that's what he's asking.
People can accidentally trigger.
Oh yes, that's why I turn it off. Like on a Baofeng, it's the big orange button on the side. People love to press it the moment they take their radio out of the box in class.
I'm that person.
Yeah. So
big red button.
And you can imagine there's some situations where that could be really bad. If you press that button by accident, you've just alerted everyone in the building that you're in that where you are and what you've got with you. So
who do like the EPIRBs, who do those call? They call the Coast Guard or somebody, right? That's a $7,000 button press. Isn't that the case?
That's probably the same kind of idea, just more SATCOM based. But,
Breitling has a search and rescue or a rescue watch that you can wear. And when you push that button, I believe if it's a real emergency, you're not charged for it. But if you push that button, it used to be $7,000. And Coast Guard dispatches and helicopters come out and the whole deal. It's a pretty big deal.
We had once where somebody pocket dialed 911 from my house at an event. Said, it's not an emergency. I'm so sorry. I pocket dialed and the cops came anyway. So
I think they have to.
They have to make sure it's not a kidnapping situation.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
You can do a lot of stuff on accident that can get you.
Speaking of the Coast Guard, we did a big off-grid camping trip 2 weekends ago out to the Outer Banks, and I had my radios all set up to monitor the Marine VHF, and it was fascinating because I don't live anywhere near a body of water, so normally all that's just not audible to me. But while we were out there, you could hear Coast Guard alerting of bad weather conditions. You could hear them putting out information about missing watercraft. So there was an alert we heard every day. about a boat that got lost between New York and Bermuda. They would give the description of the boat and who's on it and what to do on the emergency frequency. So I've been told that if you have that channel 16 Marine VHF in your radio, that's a good way to get help, even with a dumb radio, because the Coast Guard has the ability to find people by radio. That's what they're good at. So that can get you in trouble or get you help depending on what you're doing. But it's pretty cool.
Amanda's saying what we were all thinking when you said that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's what my wife said when we heard it on the radio. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a thing. It's a thing. So, Evan, back to what we started out with. Are you planning to have employees? Do you already have employees?
I need one. I need like a 1 or 2 day a week person that I can hand a bunch of busy work that I shouldn't be doing. But I have not yet pursued it. I've been so busy with actually doing all this stuff, but I think I'm at a place where I could pay someone more than they're worth to do that and free up my time to build more products. And, there are people listening to this that are probably waiting on radios right now that I can't get to because I'm taping boxes and applying labels and doing inventory and building workbooks for my classes and stuff that I could be paying someone to do, but I'm doing it all. So I'd love to have some help soon.
Is it a geographically confined option? Is it something they have to do there?
Yeah, it's all in person pretty much.
So what's the location you're looking for? Just because there are like 100 people listening.
Yeah, if you're near Hickory, North Carolina, I'm in that general area. You can work, you can set your own hours. It's pretty asynchronous type work, and I pay you well, but we'll see. I'll probably try to find somebody who wants to be more of an intern, right? Someone who's interested in the subject matter that I could, mentor and kind of bring up as a second hand, take them traveling with me, help teach classes, hopefully somebody that has flexibility and room to grow. But that'd be my pie in the sky option.
Yep. Cool. That's the kind of job that when I was transitioning out of my actual corporate job into running what I run, it kind of would have been nice to have 10 hours a week somewhere that I could count on for my own peace of mind. It's probably better I didn't, because then I had to figure out how to make money.
Right.
But at the same, we called it in my household, we called it the elusive 20-hour a week job or 10-hour a week job where you just have it. It's funny how many people don't want that.
Yeah, I don't even know what to expect these days with the job market. I've never tried to hire someone, but I've heard nightmares. So, we went to a restaurant the other day and they're like, yeah, we're going to close 1 day a week.
Yep.
So we don't have enough people. And the service we had was absolutely terrible. I'm just like, if they can't get people to work in a restaurant, how am I going to find a radio apprentice? So
you might, though. You might, and if nothing else, you're going to have a lot of content to build off of the interactions that come from it.
That's true.
Yeah, I can say the help that I have found for my business has come from people who know me and are like, I just want to work 1 day a week or 1 day every other week, and I'm like, okay, come out and we'll see if you can work. And then when it works out, it's great, and when it doesn't, But I also I don't want to be where John is, where I'm sustaining 10 families and feel like I got to keep doing stuff a little bit differently than I want to do it, because I've now committed to keeping these families supported as well, which is a lot of pressure when what I want to do is have I want to have some flexibility in the business. So, but then I keep coming back to, I'm doing a bunch of crap I don't want to be doing. So as a result,
I feel you.
Yep. Radio busy work is way different than dealing with food service and people. That is a good point, Amanda.
That's true. Yeah, I probably need to just headhunt the person, find someone, even an excellent waiter or waitress, and say,
yep,
yeah, you want to come work for me? I'll match or I'll beat what you make here in a day. You can keep this job, but I need, or do you know somebody as good as you are? You know, that kind of thing. But
we've had pretty good luck. We've had good luck hiring guys out of the gym. If I see a guy that's at the gym every day, he can obviously be someplace on time every day. And we've pulled 3 or 4 dudes out of the gym that have, you know, lasted years typically. The restaurant thing, what I notice with restaurants is we will walk into restaurants that are at 30% capacity and the wait is like 90 minutes and the place is empty.
Anybody.
But when you go to a high-end restaurant, they're packed and you can't get in the door. So people with money, there is nothing affecting them right now. When you go to a very high-end restaurant, they're packed. Like you're not getting in that restaurant tonight without a reservation.
Huh. It's like the middle is cut out of everything.
Well, the middle class has been downward migrated. We were talking about that the other day. Somebody came on a live feed and they're like, Strider knives are $200 to $300 overpriced. So I called Josh from Strider Knives and I said, hey, do you have anything for sale right now? And he said, no, we just got back from a show. Everything's sold. I said, so would you say you should probably lower your price by $200 to $300? He's like, why would we do that? And that's the point. That the guy saying that, he's just been downward migrated in class, in economy there. It's the same thing that happened with the Forerunners over, 2-3 years ago. They were charging 20 grand extra for the truck over sticker because there was such a demand and there was people lining up to get them.
Yep. That was right when I was trying to get one of those too.
That poverty mindset our friend Tim likes to talk about is definitely another factor. I saw one of my students, I won't call them out here, but I saw them commenting on a post from another retailer this week, complaining that their Black Friday sale wasn't good enough, that it didn't reward people for saving their money, or it was basically I think you got a gift card, you didn't get a discount, you got free money back. And he was like, well, this doesn't help those of us who have been saving our money to try to buy your product. We need a discount. We don't need a gift card. And I'm just thinking, what kind of person goes on somebody's Facebook page and complains about the type of Black Friday sale? It just makes me not want to run a Black Friday
I don't do Black Friday sales. That is 100%. Last year, I added something free to the bag.
Yeah.
This year, there's no Black Friday sale.
Well, it's got to be like Black Friday month or Black Friday. I think John said it's been happening since June.
Yep, 6 months now.
I've definitely seen it all month long. It's insane.
So when you give the discount, you give the discount towards future purchase so that money comes back. They get a discount on the next order. We get guys frequently, they're like, hey, I just subscribed to your email. Can I get this sale? No, we don't bribe you to join the email. We reward you for being an existing customer. Yeah. And I get it. I would love to go back, to Toyota and go, hey, can I get a $20,000 discount on this truck I bought last year? Right. But that's not how that shit works, right? Mm-hmm. Toyota has people lining up to buy their products. Everybody does right now. Yeah. Just when guys are like, hey, will you do this special thing on this order I want to order? The first thing I say is, what's your last order number? And I'm going to look at how many orders they have. Most of those guys, they have 0 orders. We're not going to do it. I have existing customers with hundreds of orders, and that's where we're going to put any of that extra frustrating stuff is going to happen for them.
I just followed that same path with my custom programming, John, kind of inspired by you, but I was having custom radio programming pile up. Like I would have 10 radios sitting here on the shelf waiting to be programmed. Well, guess what I sell? Programmed radios, right? So why am I programming radios that people have bought from someone else? Because I thought that would be a nice perk. But now I will only do that for existing customers now. I'm never programming some radio you bought from someone else if you're not doing business with me otherwise. So it was hard lesson learned, but they were also the most nagging people.
Yep, always.
They sent me their $30 radio to program when they didn't want to buy my $100 radio that came programmed. Yep. So just not going to happen.
The guy sending the belt back in trying to save $25 by resizing a belt is always the dude that's got the deployment or the emergency this weekend, or my belt is failing. I've never heard my belt broke, my belt failed, until it's a guy who sent the belt in. And like you said, you're like, why don't you just stop doing this? And we did. I'm like, awesome. I never thought of that. I'm like, I don't know. We should totally just stop doing this. Yeah. It is any of the frustration, any of the emergency panic emails are over a dude's belt, and it saves $20. And the hassle that it causes in here for Amanda, we just ceased it.
That's something I never knew. Why do we all have to learn
that lesson the hard way? Like we hear everybody else say, you're going to spend like 90% of your time on 5% of your customers who are the biggest pain in your butt. Yeah. And yet here we all have the story of here I am managing that because I didn't say no.
Well, the environment has changed, right? A lot of your competition has gone away. People had this perception that they could go buy these belts wherever, and you can buy them wherever. But as soon as they have them, they are not the same thing. They're not even close to the same thing. There's a couple dudes building really good belts, and every one of us are selling every single belt we can possibly make. It's been that way for over 20 years that we've been building this particular thing now. So we just streamline. We're just, when a guy's got this big emergency and, hey, how come this hasn't shipped? And you look and he ordered it 2-3 days ago. I reply, I'm like, hey, we're probably not the company for you. Like I say that a couple times a week. Like you should probably shop for a different vendor because that's not us.
Yeah,
there's hard lessons to learn, but I've learned some of them by listening ahead of time, but some of them I had to learn the hard way.
I'm still learning them the hard way.
Yeah.
I have all of the awesome advisors in the world in my life, and I'm still like, I said yes to that thing. If I would have just talked to one of my friends who's already been there, they would have told me to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what are you doing this weekend?
Who?
Hey, what are you doing this weekend? I don't know, but I'm not doing what you're about to ask me, because if it was awesome, you would have said, hey, we're going to do this thing. Do you want to go with us?
Skydiving on Sunday?
It's a trap. It's a trap.
Yep. One of the things I realized.
It's a trap.
That's true. That would be a good one. One thing I noticed that I didn't expect about doing this is the amount of time I spend putting the free stuff together for the customer. Like, so I put in, similar to you, John, like we pack in business cards and a coupon with every order for their next order, which has been really good for me. I usually give a $10 to $20 coupon in the box with the next order. So it encourages you, makes it a little stickier. And that takes me a couple hours a week to make that little pack of stuff that's going to go in every order. And I sign and I give a note, handwritten note in every order, which, 100 orders a week, that's hours of me. That's something I could have someone doing, right? But it's not something that I really planned for when I thought, let me start an e-commerce business. I'll just sell stuff to people. There's so much that goes into it. And if I want to make my packaging awesome, like I've got to make that packaging. I have to put all the products in that packaging. There's so much that we take for granted that adds labor. So I'm rolling with the punches on that for sure.
Have you seen what Amanda does to save herself time on stuffing?
It doesn't save time. Amanda sits in there for hours all day, every day. Amanda is in there packing those. We really need a person to come in and do those. As nice as they are, it stops Amanda from what Amanda's doing. And we could have a kid do that, as nice as those are. First Form Nutrition has 50 people that sit, and all they do is hand write on the invoice, the packing slips, a personal note to the customer. That's where we got it from. But it does. Yeah. It adds up. He pays 50 people, and that's their entire job, is to write a note that goes in those boxes. And like those cards that we put in there, that's supposed to be reciprocal, right? When I start looking at those, we're putting people's cards in those things. And that's something everybody, you have to put them in those piles, right? Well, there's nothing reciprocal coming from some of those companies. Some of those companies we're sending business cards out for, they don't even seem to be in business anymore. So that's what we're evaluating, is cutting those out. We're doing a lot. We're shipping out to 400 customers a day. They're getting free promotional shit from companies that aren't doing anything for us, nothing reciprocal at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we send you 10,000 pieces at a time because it's not worth sending 500 or something.
Well, when we tell people, we're like, hey, send 5,000 business cards, they're like, oh, I don't know, 5,000 business. Yeah, motherfucker, 5,000. That's what we're going to ship in the month. That's what's
I couldn't
going
afford
out.
to do it the first time, but I did it.
I'm not talking about you.
No, but I remember having that thought in my mind, like, crap, I really have to buy $400 worth of cards right now. But it was
but those are going to customers who bought something. Those are qualified customers.
Yep.
And especially like yours, right? We make several items that your items go inside. So there's no better handshake than that.
Like one of my favorite days in business so far is when I had to ask for more SOE cards and not tell Amanda I was sending more to you.
I'm about to have that day finally. That day's coming.
Yeah. It's cool. I love those little landmarks. I had a customer send me a email back with my handwritten note. They took a picture and said, "You got a customer for life. I own my own business. I know how much work that was to write that message, and I don't do it just for that, but I want someone to know, I touched this, I programmed it, I packed it. I am this business, and I'm a person. I'm not just a conglomerate or an Amazon or whatever that may be. So but it doesn't come free or cheap.
Nope. I started doing that because I knew most of the people buying my coffee originally were podcast listeners. So I just assumed they listened to my podcast, and it seemed like they had enough faith in me to order some coffee. I should write a little note and say thank you. And now it's like, okay, what do I write on the note? I've written to this person, once a month for 3 years now.
Yeah.
I can't write "Make it a great week" every time.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, this person says, Yurtle, when I get a handwritten note from a company that makes a major impact on my outlook of a company, even if it's just someone who was hired to handwrite those notes. Here's the website for Radio Made Easy in case anybody wants to order a radio from Evan. By the way, thanks for putting that up there, Joshua.
Yeah, we've got radio stuff and then lots of classes. There's some new classes coming up on the schedule for next year soon. Probably by the end of the day. I want to
travel somewhere and take your class, because when you're doing classes near when I'm doing events, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I know.
But I actually want to take. I was telling somebody else proposed a class for SRF that I was like, oh, that sounds like a fun self-defense class that I need to take somewhere else.
Yeah,
but I should take that class.
That's how I feel the entire weekend of SRF. Like I'm stuck here doing my thing. I don't get to enjoy I need to get that digital pass so I can.
Oh no, you already get one. You'll be getting one in your email this weekend.
That is, well, even if I didn't get it, it would be so worth it.
It's the digital recordings because they couldn't go see stuff.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So
even if you could go see stuff, you can only be one place at one time, so it's worth having.
Yep. Yeah, I'm uploading those videos all week. I've got them in hand. Rebecca, who is on Red Flyer Media right here, sent them to me 2 days ago. So now it's just a matter of waiting for the internet to download and upload. So
I enjoyed watching some of the stuff from Jack's. I saw a handful of uploads from there, and there were some great talks you guys had out there.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get Steven Reisner involved in some of the stuff we're doing. He was the guy he was talking about like capturing, using the rice water to capture bacteria and get that going. Uses that fertility, but he knows a whole bunch about aquaponics and growing and getting the mycorrhizal stuff going in your soil. So totally nerding out on a very well-read level about growing food and other things. So
I enjoyed listening to Sean Mills.
Yeah, Sean Mills is what I heard a lot of. The Korean gardening guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the first person I've heard talk about it who made it understandable to me, having not read everything there is to know about that Korean method. And he provided a step-by-step recipe. Do this. And he's like, everybody take a picture of this so you can go home next week and start this. There's lots of subtleties that you can do, but this will just get you where you need to go. And I like that kind of teacher a lot. So, and he lives in Summertown area. So he's local in Tennessee.
What I liked about Sean Mills' presentation on the low cost housing was we're kind of in that boat personally, where we're renting, but we own property we just haven't built on yet because we were in a holding pattern during COVID of crazy building prices. And he basically went in order of cost per square foot, how you could build on your own land. And it was fascinating. There were some things I had never even heard of, and I'm pretty well versed. I didn't know about some of those options. So, and I love the solar stuff. I'm a solar nerd. So he's one of my favorites to listen to. And he paid me in crypto. He's the only customer that paid me in crypto at SRF, and it has almost doubled. I have just let it sit there since SRF. So
that is what you do. I'll pay you in crypto when I buy radios from you, because that is going to happen for the holidays.
Yeah.
I'd love to get the radios here and do a training here next year. But
that's how we can make sure you make it, is you just host a class.
I'm going to host the class and be there and not do anything else around it.
Perfect.
Hey, congratulations on this milestone, a weekly order of treats from Rosie. Awesome.
Oh, good.
That's good news. Yeah, subscription customers are awesome.
Yes. I envy people who have a business where the product slowly disappears, so they need more, because my radios don't do that.
Yeah. But, I wonder if you could add a product that does that.
I've got some ideas. I thought about extended warranties, like, hey, for $10, I'll replace your Baofeng for life or something like that. But I don't know what could whittle away. Maybe we get our own radio shaped jelly bears or jelly beans or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So this is an interesting comment here. The business advice John gives is solid as hell. It may seem crazy to people at first, and my journey is slow, but business is doing exactly what John said. For anybody on the fence, do what he says. Here's what I've come to on that. When people who are successful and more successful than I am tell me something, I don't doubt it. I consider it and decide if it's going to fit into my business, but they've been there, done that. And it may sound crazy to me, and it may sound counter to what the university business teachers are teaching, but they're university business teachers, and John is actually running a business successfully. So
yes,
he has more credibility. Anybody in that boat has more credibility to me.
Yeah, those that can't do teach, and that's why I teach radio classes, right?
I mean, that's why I teach food preservation and cheese making.
Hopefully we are exceptions to that rule.
Processing class, I'm changing how I teach processing chickens now since that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad I did that class. Yeah. David wants gummy radios, so that's a win. You just have to get somebody to make the shape.
Yeah, I've thought about that one. I don't know how you go about it, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Those annoying custom order customers? So you call the factory and you become that annoying custom order customer, and they will tell you how much you have to buy to make it worth it.
Right.
That's why I don't have freeze-dried coffee right now.
1 million gummy bears.
I didn't want that much. I didn't want to store that much freeze-dried coffee. And I wanted it to be my coffee, not some other rebranded coffee.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
What's the quantity you have to do on that? Like a truckload?
Like 20,000 pounds.
Oh my gosh. But it lasts forever.
It does last forever. And I could decide, there is one brand I really like their freeze-dried coffee, but they come with some Second Amendment challenges. So I have not asked them to do a private label. Because that's the only other one I like. But that doesn't mean I won't find somebody else.
There's plenty of Pro 2A friendly coffee companies right now. A lot of them.
Yeah.
The Quartering is 2A. He's got his own coffee company. There's a bunch of Second Amendment YouTube sites that are actually really big coffee companies that you could probably partner with on some of that stuff.
Yeah, and it's finding one who does freeze dried is the key on that. And I've noticed a lot of people differentiating on the Second Amendment issue on advertising. So here's It's a super chat, so thanks for that. Whoever's channel that went to. Jason says, "Who wins the beard competition, John or Evan?"
No, Evan can have it. I'll cut it
they're
off. I don't
different.
even
Like
care.
he's got like the volume, and John's got the length. Although
Yeah.
Evan's might be. I don't know. You guys, you can vote on it. Just write Evan or John in the comments, or you can't decide. Also, don't forget
Evan. Evan can have it.
John's like, Evan can have it.
It's a title that I often claim. I remember years ago I was in a random restaurant and they had, like you have bingo night at these restaurants and stuff like that. They had a beard competition and I didn't intend to compete in the beard competition, but I won the beard competition. So
I think I win.
Yeah, that's good. You can have it. Neglect and ignorance is what you need for a good beard.
And that's how you get hair this long too, is you just don't get it cut for 5 years. Then it ends up long.
Yep. And genetics, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, here's one from Red Flyer Media. Is there a shop class or an ag class at the local high school? You sometimes can find a motivated student in those programs. That's back to getting an employee to work.
Okay. I thought she was meaning for a homestead apprentice, but maybe for both. I'm not sure if those programs exist anymore. They weren't around when I was in high school, but maybe in smaller towns they are.
Well, the homestead for you, a homestead apprentice, as well as your packing monkey, could be the same person. I mean, it could be.
Yep. That
could be the same young person.
Yeah, that's true. I'll just pick from your runner-up.
Yep.
Yeah. So back to the age thing. The guy was wondering, he's 48 and his brother is 30. So I thought he was going the other direction, like a 12-year-old, not like, am I too old to apply?
No, come on.
Can you handle it? Is the question. Like Joel Salatin can handle it. He's older than me.
Yep.
We're going to bring a bunch of people out for the first 72 hours, right? For the weekend or whatever. And that's going to weed you out. You're going to know whether you're going to want to do this or not.
You're hand digging swales that weekend, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff that weekend. Yeah.
Things
a lot.
You don't want to do.
It is all physical labor work. And that's what Salatin said. He's like, we know why are we going to bother to invest a bunch of time in these guys when they can't make it through the first couple of days? Because I mean, like, what's fighting pistol cost? $600? What's the radio class cost? $600? I mean, they're getting a ton of education there that they are not paying for.
Yep.
And that's just the scratching the surface. I mean, if you'll get
barely
hands-on business coaching on top of all that too, not just homestead skills, but if you like hearing John's guidance, if you get that consistently for 3 or 4 weeks on a daily basis, I use loosely, right? If you see the value in John's guidance, most people don't like it, but.
And if I say stuff, if you see my content and you're like, that hurts your feelings, like, that's very throttled back on the internet. Like, you probably should not even come out here if that's the case, because when I'm in a hurry and it's real, it's very brief.
Yeah.
I like brief. I have to say, I prefer it.
Yeah. A lot of people take it personal though. Like, I need to just tell you what I need you to know. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. I don't have time to explain why, but after doing it this way for 30 years, we're going to do it that way. And then once you've passed that, then we can, explore other options. Yeah. But there's a reason we do things every day. And there's a reason things run here every day the way they do. And that's all that matters.
Yeah. I don't understand how you keep a business going if you have to pussyfoot around things all the time.
Correct.
And that did not serve me well when I was an employee, because I made my leaders mad all the time by answering their questions.
Check the size of the HR department. If it's 1 or more people, not the place for you.
Yeah. Yeah. My human resources is step in my office. You're fired. Oh, hey, come here a minute. You're fired again.
I've been there for one of those. It was a beautiful sight to behold.
Yeah, but they melted down. Like, that wasn't even my doing. They did that all on their own.
But it was exactly what we're talking about, how directness can cause a person who is not whole, right? Like they're not a living person fully. What happens when you're direct with them? It's fascinating.
Yep.
Very triggered.
I just think it doesn't seem to me like when I was a kid that we were direct, right? People were direct. I don't remember it being this like circular all the time.
Oh, but you guys are Gen Xers, right?
Or so.
But you guys are Gen Xers, right?
Yeah.
Latchkey kids.
Yeah. Things are different.
Like, you're ugly and I don't want to play with you. Okay, got it.
When someone says that now, they get suspended from school
for bullying.
Yeah, there has to be a law enforcement investigation.
The number of times I was called a dog growing up, you know, now I like dogs, so it doesn't matter. But I understand that was an insult. Cheers and shalom.
Kids were hateful. I mean, they really were hateful. But I mean, now we have such soft people from the lack of there's no calluses anywhere anymore. I was watching. There's this big attack on homeschooling right now, apparently, or there's conversation of about to be an attack, and they were saying that the number of homeschoolers this year were up over 50% across the United States. I'm not sure where all the numbers are coming from, but those kids are very different. You know, when we have a young person in here and you're having this conversation and you're like, holy shit, this kid's vocabulary, like, I'm going to have to look that word up. And those aren't, government school kids. Those are kids that are like, oh, I get it. You're homeschooled.
Yeah. You know, Thomas, the parking person, that kid,
mm-hmm.
That guy, I guess he's in his 20s now. So he's a young man, homeschooled.
Yeah.
One of the best work ethics I see in that age. Like, he will just work and he knows the goals. He makes proactive decisions with the end in mind, and I don't have to worry about it. Yep. That's what I want to work with.
There's a little bit of a correlation and causation going on there, though, right? Like, what kind of families homeschool their kids?
Yes.
What kind of parents do that? So, yeah, I don't know that you could take most of these kids and suddenly transform them by having their parents teach them, because they teach them terrible stuff. But
well, a lot of families use school as the babysitter, you know, and that's not to say a lot of those are multi-families are both working also, but that's by design. That was the system.
Yep. I meet lots of couples that are trying to make that work, and it rarely goes well.
Yeah, weapons junkie. The challenge is the system hasn't inspired entrepreneurs. We have to change Gen Z mindset. Time is coming when this economy will implode. I think that if that happens, we are going to inspire entrepreneurs by necessity. I think it's almost like some of that stuff has to happen. Some people may not make it, but if you're going to make it, you're going to have to be the kind of person that sees an opportunity, takes the opportunity, and runs.
I think you're going to have 10% that do that. I think you're going to have a solid 50, 60% that literally just crawl up in a ball and sit in a corner until they're no more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Evan, what do you think about a paywall with e-learning course 0 to Hero, or even live virtual courses? This could be a multiplier for delivering training. Could bundle it with the radio kits. More work for you, Evan.
Sounds like something that is in the works. But yeah, we will have virtual versions of the classes eventually. A challenge with that, not to be difficult. It's a great idea, but part of the challenge with radio, the obstacle, is the hands-on part of that. So I have to creatively solve that with a virtual class, right? It's not as simple as teach me a subject that is intellectual or, imaginary in nature. This is a hands-on, and like I said, we do scenarios, we do practical use of the product. So doing that over a screen, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to that. But we could have 0 to Hero Light, which is probably what it'll be, is the basics, the stuff that I can explain to you that other people don't do a good job of explaining. I could definitely package that up. I've had a lot of people want to make me their online radio training guy recently. I've had like 3 companies wanting me to come do it. And I'm thinking, unless you're going to pay me really well, I'm not sure what value. Like, I can install a plugin on my WordPress site and build an e-learning platform. It's not exactly rocket science. So what are you offering me here if it's not a big signing bonus? Maybe you want to find somebody else to build your content for you, but we'll have it someday. I'm looking forward to that day, because that does not have to pack the trailer and drive it to Idaho every year. That goes a little bit more efficiently.
How much for a half-hour conference of your time? What's that cost?
$50 for a half hour, $100 for an hour is what I do right now for a consult, but it goes toward anything you buy.
That is cheap.
Yeah, that's not enough. So Tad, our buddy Taddy Digest, is his YouTube. He has 5 or 6 levels on his YouTube membership, and the top level I think is $1,000 a month, and you get, I think you get an hour of phone time or video time with him. Now this is for HVAC guys, and they are hitting him up all the time. He has, I don't know, hundreds of members. He's got a dude out here this weekend, and it's $5,000. That guy paid $5,000 to come out here and shadow Tad for the weekend, and he's got multiples of those dudes.
Yeah, I could raise the price. Honestly, it's a filter for, are you a time waster or not? I would do it for free for people that want to spend money, but I'm not going to do it. I have to have a barrier to entry. It's not intended to be as much of a money maker in and of itself as just a filter. But,
well, you have a lot of other benefits other than just radio stuff. I don't think a lot of people are aware of. So if you had some dudes that were willing to pay you, you know, a couple $100 a week just to have a 30-minute conversation with you every week, even, you know, business guidance, website guidance, app guidance. I mean, you have so much that you do, and people hear Radio Made Easy, people that are not aware of some of your other tasks and the other hats that you wear.
Yeah,
like there's a ton of value there, man, if we just made that present to them.
Yeah, I need 10 guys on a $200 a week retainer, and I can just retire from. Honestly, that would be my dream, is just to solve a new problem every day for someone. I get bored, right? Like I love getting a phone call from you or Bob or somebody in our circle that's like, hey, give me 2 minutes. What do you got on this subject? Like, I love that, but that would be challenging to formalize, but I think that would be sweet. But radios are certainly not my only trick.
Yeah, it won't be long. You won't be doing radios. I mean, I tell guys all the time when they start a business, it's like the second hand on a watch, right? At 12 o'clock, we're right here. At 12 o'clock in 1 second, we're still here. But 10 miles down the road, you don't even see each other anymore. It's that deviation. We start that business and it can evolve into other things. You just got to figure out, I mean, you know, you've got 100 options, and it could all fall under the same umbrella with just access to Evan.
You know, I have something to talk to you about after this, Evan, that this made me think of.
Okay.
Just remind me.
I'll put you on the retainer list.
Yeah, it's just, I think you might want to look at it.
I think you're right, John. I mean, I see 5 years from now, I could hand this company to that protege and say, all right, dude, like, run with this, make a living. I've built you a system. That would be awesome. I would love to, and then move on to the next challenge. Like, nobody does what I do the way I do it, but it would be cool to hand that off at some point. But right now it's building those systems, building those. And man, I was telling Jody the other day, he got me a phone call with some pretty important YouTube people. And I was like, I told my wife about it. I was like, it literally has nothing to do with my capabilities in the subject matter. It is completely the relationships I've built. That's all that matters. Like, I have to be able to do the stuff, but there are hundreds of people that can do the stuff. They just don't know anybody. Well, I mean, radio guys, they're all jerks anyway. So it's like, Be a radio guy that's not a jerk. You can write your own ticket.
You've brought a dozen things to me just standing here in the shop. You're like, why are you doing that bullshit? Like, why don't you just do it this way?
Sometimes it takes a fresh set of eyes, though.
Yeah, I say that all the time, every day. I'm like, Amanda, come look at this. I need another set of eyes on this.
Yep. Well, Nicole, I don't know if you had questions or topics to cover. We've just gone bouncing around like a ping pong ball today.
I mean, so the best thing about having these lives with somebody who we know is we can bounce around like a ping pong ball based on the comments and what comes up.
Yeah.
And we have enough rapport that it doesn't throw you off your game. Right.
Yep.
So I like that. Something I was interested in talking about is some of your cybersecurity stuff. Like you did a whole presentation at SRF about privacy.
Yeah.
So, and that's something, a lot of people, when we talk about it, they go to 150% before they start with like, just don't use Google.
Yeah.
Even though I use Google, but you know what I mean? Like, so let's talk a little bit about like, what would a basic entry level set of things be that somebody should do if they want to start taking better control of their privacy? And why would they want to do that?
Yeah, I think some nuance around that, my take on it is making yourself cancel proof, right? How can I set up my business, my online presence so that it can't be quickly and easily taken away from me? I think people take for granted how vulnerable they are to cancellation. And I don't mean in the political sense cancellation, literally like someone can flip a switch and your entire business is turned off because you put all your eggs in one basket. So, I mean, the philosophy, same with radio communication, is if you don't own it, you don't control it, right? So if you are depending on other people's stuff to make your stuff work, just be, primarily be aware of it. Don't be ignorant of that. Don't be disillusioned about that, and understand, if you use Etsy to run your entire business, or you use Shopify, or you use some platform that other people serve you with, not only do you pay a fee for that, but you are bound by their terms of service, and at will they can turn you off, right?
And their terms of service are identical word for word to Facebook with Shopify.
And they can evolve on an hourly basis, right? Do you have someone reading those every day and checking to see if you're in compliance? And even if you are in compliance, they can just make up a reason.
Yeah.
So
the community guidelines.
You really are at their mercy. So it's not to fearmonger. It's just to help people see, all right, what are some steps you can take? The first one is going to be back up all your stuff. Like if you have product photos, descriptions, you have your inventory, you have your customer list, names, phone numbers, emails, like you should have an offline, off-platform copy of that stuff so you could get your business back up and running somewhere else in a day or two instead of a year or two. Or it might mean that you go out of business because someone pulled one Jenga block out of your life. So regular backups is a huge part of it. And then protecting yourself from being hijacked or hacked is another big one. Turning on two-factor authentication on all your accounts. If it's an option to have it, I know it's annoying, right? You got to have them text you a code to log in. That could mean the difference between your world being turned upside down or not.
I get hit with those two-factor authentications every single day, and they're
ones?
Not us. Yeah. Yep. We get DDoS. We get a DDoS attack coming out of Israel and bouncing around, and it'll shut down our Shopify site for hours. Like they'll be hitting. Yep.
There's all kinds of stuff like that for nefarious activity, but also, simply somebody socially engineering a hack, right? Someone that appears to be your friend on Facebook that isn't asking you to send them a code. I've had numerous OK Boomer era people who who continue to get hacked, and it's a domino effect, right? Once they hack one account, they impersonate that person to hack more accounts, and it's just this crazy web of hijacking. So anyway, I think as far as it relates to your online presence, just being vigilant about your vulnerability to cancellation. If you are looking for ways to do what you do in a way that can't be canceled as easily, you're always going to depend on other people's stuff to some extent, but it's minimizing. All right, maybe it's just literally the server, not the software and the platform, but I can move my stuff to any server, but I can't recreate Shopify, or I can't recreate Etsy or eBay. Payment processors, right? Like, you're not allowed to use some payment processors. I had a personal nightmare with a payment processor earlier this year that if I had not been prepared for, you could really, I would have been done, if I didn't have a backup in the quiver. So lots of stuff like that. If you run a business and you want help with that, that's something that I do, is kind of consult to get people either starting out, get you built in a way. It's best to start the right way. It's harder to take an existing business and make it right, but both are possible. The other one's just more expensive. But
yeah, a scam I've seen recently, Evan, is that if your username or your online name has an L in it, they do an uppercase I instead, spoof your account, choose that username, and people think it's you. So if, like, I would never ask for money to help me out via Telegram, for example. And I had fake me doing that to people, and somebody said, "Is this really you?" on text message in my phone. Like, they knew me well enough, and I was like, "That is not me." And I changed my profile picture and got them reported. But I have seen that same scam happening with the LI replacement in our specific network for about the last 3 months. They've done Tim, they've done me, they've done what else did they do recently? I think they did the Lots Project. Like, they've just been going around, and it's very clearly targeted to people in our network.
It's somebody you know.
It is totally somebody we know. They got $5,000 from somebody.
Yeah, it's somebody you know. We have my SOE account show up on all platforms. They look just like me.
Yeah.
They even comment as though it was me.
That is, it's
a principle to guide is you should never open an email that appears to be from Facebook and follow that to a login page, right?
Yeah, never click any of that shit.
Your account is not about to be shut down on Facebook.
Yeah,
they're never going to message you or email you. The notification will come through the platform, right? Then be very suspicious.
Even then, yeah. No,
always be suspicious. Be vigilant, right? Like, look, expect that it's fake. Make them prove to you that it's not fake.
The way you know is because you will be logged out. If there's some question and they need to review you or they need to update your information or any of that, the platform is going to log you out. It will not allow you in there. They're not going to send you a private message. Also, if you have a private message that says it's from Facebook and your account is about to be locked if you don't do this, can you block that page? Because if it's really from Facebook, they're not sending it that way, and you won't be able to block them if it's real. If that's a good way to find out, just block them.
And they don't send a message. It's not a conversation. It's a notification. It's not going to come as a message.
Hey, Adam, thanks for the super chat. What's a good web host and domain registrar to go with?
So we got orangewebsite.com as a recommendation at my talk. I don't have personal experience, but orangewebsite.com is a good registrar that appears to be based somewhere neutral, and they don't I think that came from someone in your network, Nicole.
Yeah,
I don't know about hosting. I'm not gonna skyline myself on my hosting, but you could host with me. But I'm not giving it to you. You have to buy it. But hosting is awesome because you can just move it, right? So if you look like at the story of Gab, like the social media platform, they moved from AWS to Azure. Finally, they got shut down so many times. They built their own, like literally built a physical bare metal server and plugged it into the internet. You can't stop that. But if you don't have a portable website, right? If your website is built on a platform, you don't own the source code, you can't move it to your own server. You have to use something that's portable. And if you don't know what that is, you need to pay somebody that does know what that is. But it's not going to be as easy as Square or as Shopify or as PayPal, right? Part of the downside is the easier it is, the more vulnerable it is. It's like, think about your iPhone. Like, it works really well. It's easy to use. It also is very locked down. You're locked into their ecosystem. You're locked into their app store. You can't make a lot of customizations, right? So same story with any piece of software. The easier it is, the more user friendly it is. It's probably more prone to being shut down, unfortunately. So you get what you pay for sure.
We're still on GoDaddy. I've got 175 URLs on GoDaddy. And we're still using Shopify.
You're pretty safe with registrars unless you're doing unless you're WikiLeaks or something that is like globally controversial. Your hosting is a different story because that is the content that's hosted. But registrars, all they do is point your address to an IP address on the internet. It's like your .com is your domain, and that's internationally managed, so it's not as prone to the controversy of the other stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, and for context, if you have your website built in a portable way and your host tells you to pound sand and you have a backup copy of your site, it's as quick as copying that to the new server, pointing the domain name, which in the worst case scenario, which basically never happens anymore, could take 48 hours, 2 days to repoint.
Usually minutes.
And it's usually minutes. And if you have a good domain name registrar, they have ways to speed that up. So you can be on the phone with them. I've had to do that not because of being targeted, but because we got a Drudge report link and it made the web host go down, and we had to move the site to another host that could handle the traffic and a different kind of hosting.
Oh, okay.
And it took maybe 5 hours to get all of that done.
So you hit the bandwidth cap. They literally
we got nailed. And my existing host was working with the new host. They're like, "Yep, we can't handle this. We're gonna work."
That's a great problem to have.
Possible.
That's another thing with hosting is if you're paying for cheap hosting, that's great until you go viral, and then your website will be down because it costs money to serve your website to millions of people. So recently I did, when John drops my name on a live feed, right? If my website can't handle that traffic, I won't even mention the other people that might mention me, but just take that example, right? Can I handle the traffic I'm going to get when I do a podcast or when I get an article written about me? Your whole business could go down if you're not prepared for that. And that is not cheap. Like if you're paying $8 a month for hosting, it cannot handle you being mentioned on a podcast. It can't.
And that means if you're going on a podcast, change your hosting before that interview.
We used to have that happen all the time,
and it can make it scalable where it will anticipate, okay, there's an uptick, and you can set your budget and say, all right, go ahead and spend up to $500, but I don't want it yet. If you have sophisticated hosting, it will scale for you.
We've not seen that. We've not seen that happen in a decade. Also, the cloud, that's code word for someone else's computer. I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You mean you don't trust something that's described as an amorphous, insolid bunch of mist?
Well, like for instance,
my job.
For instance, Apple Cloud, right? Apple Cloud or Samsung Cloud or any of these clouds. Law enforcement gets all that shit, right? So anything that's happened on this thing has probably loaded to, I think I'm on at least 2 clouds that you know of, right? Yeah. You would be safe to assume there is another cloud that you are not aware of, and every single thing you have sent or received, there's a record of that. Even if you've deleted it off of this thing, it just depends on who is looking for you and how bad they want you, whether they're going to pull that up or not. But guys are getting jammed up all the time for shit that had happened, years previous.
Yep.
Just be aware of that.
And cloud storage, people don't even know, but it's some of the most expensive storage on earth. Like your Dropbox account is not the place to put like your family videos. Like you can buy a hard drive and put it at someone else's house. You don't have to put it in the cloud for $200 a month. Like you could.
Man, we use Dropbox, but it takes so long to move stuff off and to Dropbox and back and forth. It's almost unusable.
Some of us are. It depends on you. If you have gigabit fiber internet, it feels like it's a local backup. But if you're on a regular high-speed connection, yeah, it's not even usable. Yeah.
Yeah, so this made me think of another topic, Evan.
Okay.
Documentation. It's really handy to have access to like your account numbers, your passwords, other things. Not at your location, like in your friend's safe at their house. So if your house burned down, and your computer burned up with it, and sure, maybe you have some stuff in the cloud. So how would you, and let's just include keys to your cryptocurrency, for example, in this, how would you secure that in their safe from a digital standpoint?
Secure it in
their
safe.
Like, let's say you write all the things you need, your keys, your account numbers, your passwords, you have a data file, and it's on a thumb drive or something, and you give it to your friend. Like, how do you make sure that thumb drive is secure enough for that?
I see. Yeah, you definitely want to secure it with encryption. If you have, I don't have an easy way to explain that, but you definitely can do that. Just having it physically locked is, most of your problem. But I've been given flash drives from people that they wanted what's on them, and I'm like, take it to the NSA. Like it's a paperweight, right? Like if you don't have the key, and that's consumer grade encryption, right? So, and if there's a way, I would know, right? It just is mathematically not possible to unencrypt some things without supercomputers. So that's something to consider. Another thing is use a password manager. I won't say which one to use, but there are some big ones. Look at their track record, but you should be using passwords that don't match across websites, right? So if I get access to one of your accounts, like your Target account gets hacked, which they did a few years ago, they clear text hacked thousands of passwords where they weren't even hashed. You could just read the passwords out of a database file. Well, guess what? Most people use the same password everywhere. So now I have online banking and Facebook and everything for all these people. So using a unique password that is not easy to guess, not your dog's name, not your anniversary, not your parents' wedding anniversary, or whatever. That's something to consider, that you aren't the one that's keeping it in your head, right? That you generate a really super duper password with the manager, and now I only need one really good password to get to all my other ones. And then what I love about that also is most of those, you can set a dead man switch basically. So my wife is assigned as a person that can request access to that whole system. And if I were to pass away, I think I set it to like 30 days. So if I pass away and she requests it within 30 days, if I don't deny the request, she can have everything in there, right? Or it doesn't have to be a spouse, right? It could be a close friend or whatever. So think about that nightmare, right? You're dead and someone needs to deactivate all your stuff, and they need to turn off your bill pay for things. And if they don't have your passwords, that could be a bad day for everybody.
This 100% happened in my family this year, where a spouse
really?
did not, like, one spouse did all the digital and the other one doesn't know anything about digital. And it has been 100% a nightmare for her.
the other thing is if someone gets access to your email, they can get all your passwords, because how do you reset your password? Well, they email you a reset link. So if your email does not have a really good password and two-factor authentication, I've personally hacked people this way that have done me wrong, that I've had to get things back from, and I host their email. So don't do me wrong if I host your email. Like, that's kind of dumb.
Just don't do people wrong.
Yeah, that too, but you got to assume some
There's
nefarious.
somebody from our network pretending to be us and stealing money from other people in our network. So
that's the thing. So I mean, like, I had a former employee that stole a domain name from us, and I stole it back because we host their email, and they registered it using their email with our company.
We had that happen at the old shop in Oceanside. We had that happen.
But keep your email super secure, right? Like, it's the key to resetting
everything.
Passwords. So lots of principles there.
I recently heard also, like, I thought we were going a little different direction with this, like documentation and such. I heard somebody say, just get an old iPad, just as an old iPad, put all of your stuff on that iPad, put that thing in a Faraday bag, whatever, lock it in your safe. You could even have multiples of those. You could ghost that thing onto another one and then just put it in multiple locations. It could even be, I have a bucket, like, no bullshit. I have a bucket full of old phones.
Yeah.
Like, you could use those. They'll still power up.
Yeah, the thing about that is have a backup of the backup and power them up once a month and make sure they still work and keep them charged. Because I have had these fail by just ignoring them for 5 years, and then, oh, it won't turn on now no matter what I do.
So we've been using, we do a lot of footage every week, and I was using 1 terabyte hard drives, and now they're 2, and now they're up to 5. And I was always of the belief I wanted smaller hard drives, so if we lose one, we lose less material. And Trish said, "What are you going to do?"
Oh no, he just got to the part where he tells us who killed Kennedy.
I said, "What are you talking about?"
We missed
what Trish said because you cut out for a second. So Trish
said, because I have 100 of these hard drives. She said, "What are you going to do when these all go bad?" I said, "They're not going to go bad." She goes, "Yeah, they just stop working sometimes." So we went through and plugged everyone in.
Me all the time trying to recover stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're buying, $100 hard drives, so they're not expensive. But they've got solid state ones. There's this box you can buy that takes, I think, 7 of them, and it duplicates them all, and they're solid state. There's no platter in them, but those are expensive.
Yeah, you're going to pay about double or triple per gig. But that's what you want to put important stuff on, a solid, and thumb drives are solid state. So I mean, if you're not talking about video files, you can buy 128 gig flash drive for probably like $12 now. It's insane. So you could fit every document you will ever create on a thumb drive, and that is never going to go bad. You can get them that are waterproof, fireproof. Buy 10 of them and put all your crap on it and put it in 10 places. Preferably places that aren't prone to flooding and natural disasters, right? Like literally geographically different places. People don't think about all that until they're, it's like everything. It won't ever happen to me until it does happen to me. But with your business, think about the nightmare it is personally, and then take that to another level when you and multiple other people depend on that revenue source to maintain their livelihoods. If you don't do your diligence, like, it could crush your whole business. So at least have your product library, any intellectual property, your customer list, have a hard copy of that you could move so you could stay in business if somebody pulls the rug out from under you.
So here's one from Bertrand. Did we talk about having good old paper hard copies of important documents?
So Bertrand, Jack's got several really good shows just on that. And you can totally do that. Laminate those things, put them in a binder, however you want to transport them. And you also said Faraday cases. I've got SLNT silent. I bought every Faraday bag that was on Amazon. I've got like 35 of them right in the building. You'll hear people also, while we're talking about that, People are like, well, just put your phone in your microwave. We did all of that silly shit people said. Your phone rings in your refrigerator. Your phone rings in your microwave. Your phone rings everywhere. You know where my phones didn't ring? In those Faraday bags. And they're the different, all the Faraday bags we bought all blocked the signal. Every one of them worked. The difference is how nice those bags are and the handles and the build quality of the bags.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, with the thing with anything that's supposedly Faraday EMP proofing type things, like nobody really knows if it's going to survive. What are you really protecting against? Think about the things that are likely to happen. Like houses do burn down, floods do happen, hurricanes do happen every year. EMPs do not happen all the time, right? So you at least solve for the thing that is likely, literally the probability of this thing is high. Not likely that it will happen, but it's more likely than other things. You're not going to solve for all problems.
And how badly do you need digital access to your bank account if an EMP attack happens in the United States? Like,
right.
That's not the thing you need to deal with right away.
Right.
I think most people, they're not thinking bank accounts with the EMP thing, but we've got all these publications and like the Backwoods Home Anthology. That would be lovely to have if I have all of them published, right? But if they get wet, those are gone. But those thumb drives, it would be nice to be able to plug that into something. But sooner or later, that shit's going to stop working if we come to that scenario, right?
There's a good friend of mine that I'm starting to work with on some things that builds basically an offline copy of the internet in a box. It's called GridBase, and it's a little Pelican case with a Raspberry Pi that has offline versions of, Wikipedia and all the libraries, not EMP proof and all that, right? But if the internet's not accessible, I can look up all the maps. I can look up the encyclopedia. It's kind of a cool idea, kind of an offline, not a replacement for the internet, but the essentials. I really like that idea.
I was talking with a guy about that exact same thing a year ago.
Yeah.
I've been looking at getting an encyclopedia set once my living room's put back together, because at least I can look things up that I'm curious about if I don't have internet access.
Yeah, I have so many memories of that. My grandpa, we would be talking, a subject would come up, and he'd literally stand up, walk over to the bookshelf, and go get the encyclopedia.
And they changed drastically in 1950 when,
really?
And I was searching pre-1950 encyclopedia sets. There's a ton of them for sale around Nashville. They'll start targeting you once you look them up on Marketplace. You'll find.
Oh, they heard me say it just now. I'm gonna have that ad right after this, right?
Yep. And they're out there, man. And they
sofa I want.
And they are not expensive. People are like giving those things away.
Yeah, you cannot donate them to Goodwill.
Yep.
Really?
Build a library while you can. There is
go ahead.
There is so much right now in the last 10 years that's on the internet that hasn't been in print. Some of it is. I get targeted all the time with the Back to the Old Ways, herbs or whatever, right? And I'll go buy that book. And it makes you go through this click funnel of like 20 different funnels. And I would buy every one of those, but the next 19, they're only digital. I don't buy just digital stuff. So I don't have them. But man, there is a digital book burning right now. And when you look at even DuckDuckGo, which has been bought by Google, the results are still different on DuckDuckGo than on Google. And if you take a look, you will see that things have drastically changed. You will read things that you look up and you know for a fact that information is not correct because they have deleted that. They don't have to go door to door and take all the Bibles and put them in a pile and burn them now. They just can remove them from the internet.
The Wayback Machine is your friend, and Project Gutenberg for old books. Project Gutenberg, Gutenberg, I believe. Okay, I got a question here. Recommendation for password manager. You said you're not going to recommend one. Is that still true?
Well, it would be silly for me to say the one I use on a podcast.
Yeah, so there you go. The Start9 Embassy servers will allow you to host your own password manager and share it out to your family just as a possible option, but you have to do some configuration on your own.
But I couldn't, if I bought a Start9 Embassy server, I would mess with it for about 20 minutes, and I would be like, Evan, come set this damn thing up.
And so you should just do that all at one time. At the next SRF, Evan, you want to do Start 9 deployment?
Sure.
Maybe we could get Start 9 to SRF.
Get Lightning to SRF.
Yes. The Lightning
The main thing is with that, just on a password manager, for real. Like if you don't have a clue what we're talking about right there about hosting, what I avoid with people, right, is like the analysis paralysis, where they go look at a thing and it's too complicated, so they don't do anything. That's why I made Radio Made Easy, because I met 1,000 people with radios that are unprogrammed. So like, go do something, like put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, and even the password manager that has a bad reputation right now for privacy issues would have been better to have in place when my uncle died than nothing. And it's, that's
because your risk is not the password manager. Your risk is someone guessing your password or getting your one password that goes to all your stuff, right? So like, don't think you're cooler than you really are, right? Like, are you an enemy of the state, or are you just a person living life who needs good passwords, right? Like, let's not overemphasize what you're really dealing with here. Get something, right? Like Google password manager, look at the first 5 that show up and pick one.
If only you could get John's sweatshirt by going to original soegear.com right now and clicking on the very first thing that comes up.
These say United States post-apocalypse, and we did them this time. We've never done this one, but we used this blank, and it's got red inside the hoodie. We also did a blue one, which is very nice. I'm guilty of that paralysis, and now I have 23 tabs open on my taskbar right now. Those are all things that I have gone to buy, and I have not bought any of those 23 things because I'm still comparing. I need a grapple bucket for my tractor. I need a T-post setter. And I'm like, well, do I want the $400 one that I saw Dawn put up from Tractor Supply? Do I want the $1,200 one with the Honda motor? And then I start looking, I'm like, oh, well, this is all rock. You probably need the $3,000 one. So here I am. We just planted 37 more trees here, and there's still not a fence around them. And the goats or the sheep are, nibbling on them.
Yeah, they will do. They'll kill their trees.
Yep.
That is such a big phenomenon. Is like, it's what I tried to do with my talk, is people want to ask questions that are 10 steps down the line. And I get that, but let me focus on what can you do today? Like, what can you actionably do today that you can have a win in the column of the win column, right? Like, all right, I feel good. I'm motivated to do more. Do one or two things, and do it wrong a couple of times. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. You're already in a bad spot if you're not doing this. So anything will be an improvement.
I deployed a cloud-based password manager 2 years ago, and I'm now working on the Start 9 Embassy server, which is an easier version than building my own Raspberry Pi, right?
Yeah.
But I had to do something to at least make it so if I die, people can get to my stuff.
So it generates a password for me. So it generates all the passwords that are long strings of things. And then you have a server?
I don't. I'm getting one.
Got it.
Yeah. No. So I did the cloud-based solution first, John, just to have something done, because it was easy. And then I decided, okay, we're going to get this Start 9 in the Holler Neighbor network at least.
So this is not secure, obviously, right? But I like my antiques and such. When I buy antiques, I typically write on the bottom what I paid for them and where they came from. I also have a private Facebook group that Amanda and I are in. And when we get things, if they're of any value or if there's a real historic anything to them, I document that. And then my kids are in that group. And I'm sure they don't ever look at that. But if I die in a plane crash, if a plane crashes on me tomorrow, at least my kids can take all that and go, yeah,
they don't sell it for $20 when you paid $20,000 for it. It looks like trash. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, we occasionally have those conversations too. When my kids who are not here all the time are around, hey, just so you know, and they ask, they're like, hey, this is super cool. What is this? Well, let me tell you. And we tell them the history of it.
I had a big reality check with that when I had severe pneumonia a few years ago and had to go in the hospital for 2 days, and it gave me, and my mother-in-law passed away a few weeks after that. So I was shook up from like all the death or the fear of death, all of a sudden. And I took a whole day and just got my ducks in a row. Like not really that hard to do. Just think about it. What are the things someone's going to need to know? Like I have 42 websites that I host. All those customers need to still be running. If something happens to me, my wife can pay the bill, but she's got to know, like, where is that? And if my credit card gets canceled and those payments stop clearing, all of those websites go down. Like there's people counting on that. So now I have instructions for her, right? Like simple things like that. You don't have to have it all figured out, but do something.
Not only that, like just insurance on a building. If you don't have documentation that thing was in there, you ain't getting paid for it. Like video is great, right? Here's this thing, this is what it is. And that can just be you leaving notes to yourself. And then, you can send them to your spouse or, multiple locations.
Stolen, you can't take a picture of it.
Yeah. And not only that, like leave all that shit with your lawyer. Like make sure he has that.
Huh.
That means have a lawyer do your will, because LegalZoom is not the answer. That's the other thing. You can do it for like $45. I did a LegalZoom will once, and then I talked to my lawyer friends, and they're like, "There's so many holes in those. You basically, now you have your thoughts together. You can go to a lawyer and get an actual will."
Do we have an in-network person that you'd recommend for stuff like that? I seem to think someone did a booth on that, a vendor booth.
Somebody probably did. I know a few lawyers. I don't have one that I recommend per se. Like mine is not in network.
For some reason, I thought there was one at SRF, but I might be thinking about taxes, not.
Yeah, we had two tax attorneys. Well, a tax attorney and a legal contract attorney. The legal contract attorney probably could do a will. I'd have to talk to her.
What's all the government oversight now with the LLCs that goes into effect in like 45 days?
Yeah, you got to register every LLC you have once a year with them, or you get fined $500 a day, up to $500 a day.
That's like almost as much as if you use a Baofeng without a license.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to hit. It's just like taxes, man. They're not going to hit most people. It's when they want you, they're going to hit you with all of it.
Yeah.
When you're saying some things that they disagree with, it's when you get on their radar.
Yeah.
Everybody has something they can go to prison for. It's just whether somebody's going to enforce it against you or not.
Yeah, it's an anti-money laundering.
Oh, okay.
I've seen a lot of.
I don't know how that's more anti-money laundering than me even filing the LLC and doing the tax return every year with the state I'm in, but okay. Yeah.
Yep. So Josh is a moderator on my YouTube. When we do a live every night at 9:00, and Josh and Chuck Peoples are both mods. So if you look at this from my side, those links are actually clickable. So if they're not clickable, you're watching this on one of the other channels. Yeah,
so we're simultaneously streaming to 3 channels right now, guys. That is true. It's Special Operations Equipment, Self-Reliance Festival, and Living Free in Tennessee. Evan, we should figure out how to stream to you. Do you have a channel I can stream to?
I do, yep. It's about to be the next biggest thing once I get on Overton Windex's YouTube Shorts plan.
Yes.
Are you going? Yeah, Overton. Like if you guys think you want to do a YouTube channel, you have access. Number one, he's really mean, so he'll say things that'll hurt your feelings.
He's not mean.
He's really good at what he's doing, and he's honest. Yeah, he's honest. But you guys should just watch some of his stuff and then look at the numbers on there. If you think you want to do a YouTube channel, you should pay attention to what Overton is doing.
And he's coaching me a little bit. I'm preparing. When I get back from Florida, I'm going to hit the ground running. I'm trying to get in the 6 digits of subscribers like he did in 90 days or 30 days. I think he was over 100,000 in 30 days from zero.
I think we're going to break 100,000 this year still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
but
work.
In the meantime, I think I have like 1,100 because I posted one video with John Lovell in it. So
was John in it, or did you just cut John into it?
No, he was in it. I recorded him his speech at James's farewell party, so that got a ton of subscribers. That was not my intent, but it just happened that way.
Well, you can totally pirate anybody's stuff. You just take it and have a split screen, and you just have to interact, and I think it's 20% of it. So you can use their hashtags. It'll drive the traffic to your site.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ronald says, is this in all states? It's a federal mandate, so yeah, it doesn't matter where you live. For the LLC thing, agristaxadvice.com is a great person to talk to about stuff like this, because he cares about freedom and tracking your taxes.
Get with him.
A trust will negate some of that. There are workarounds for that. If you're not making a shitload of money, you don't need to worry about it. And then as far as will and stuff like that, Evan, Dana can do that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think of Dana.
I didn't want to drop his name if it wasn't.
Well, for you, not for them.
Okay.
I mean,
they have to know who we're talking about to get to him.
That's true.
You guys. If you're running a business, you need a lawyer. If you don't have a lawyer, then you're not really running a business. I mean, you can do a lot for a long time, but I like to say it's not and as does Dana like to say, it's not a problem until it's a problem. And usually by the time that happens, it's a really big problem.
Well, I'll have to reach out to Dana, find out about the unicorns.
Evan, if you use a Mac PC, is there a good hard drive backup which can be open sourced like Linux?
I don't know what you're asking, but hard drive backups are already open source. They're just backups of files.
Yeah, we use our hard drives on Mac and Windows. I plug mine in, then I give it to other guys for other systems. I have a funny Linux story. I think it's Linux, right? Ranger Dave came in and he's like, hey, we should put all these files and patterns on a hard drive. We should digitize all this. So he did. He did all this shit. And then he took one of my Mac computers and he put Linux on it, and it never opened again. So he bricked an entire computer, changing it over to Linux.
Thank you, Ranger Dave.
Yeah, people that use Linux are kind of in their own league, and I don't tend to.
That's where I get PSK31 from, because he's got all that's I don't know shit about ham radio, but I know PSK31. We can burst transmission, and most people aren't going to decipher it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in all fairness, I think what he's asking is like a tool that makes a nice zipped up backup file that you could restore to. I don't have a recommendation on that. I'm more talking about taking your files and putting them in a place, right, in a regular file format. So,
do you suggest ham radio, HF, VHF for when comms are down?
Yes,
that's what I thought you'd say.
And if you're asking that question, you probably are not aware that you're generally talking voice over HF, and you're going to need to do some key code, or you're going to need a program that will do, code.
Yeah, dude's asking that this weekend, and I love getting to open everyone's mind to that voice on radio is pretty much antiquated now, right? Like you can share precise data, text-based communication over HF or over VHF or UHF, any of those, and it's a total game changer because it's short and it's pass fail. It's perfect, right? Like when you send an email, there's not variation in what people get. It's 100% right. And so same way with data. If I send you, an encrypted message that relies on punctuation and capitalization, then it's going to be right both times. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I teach people that. So come take my class.
What's the channel name for Overton Window?
Overton Windex.
Windex.
To play on.
Sorry. I'm thinking about the Overton Window.
Right.
He's been in here commenting.
He's here. Go find him, and I think that's probably what it would be.
It's Overton Windex. He's here in the comments.
He's probably moved on to something else by now.
Probably so. but you can scroll up and see how it's spelled.
Yeah. Someone asked on one of his feeds, I think last night, if that's his real name.
He has an autoplay on his YouTube. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
There you go.
I just had a tree fall on top of my building here, so that
just now
something heavy just fell on top. So
thankfully
it's made out of metal.
Good news, it didn't come inside.
That's right.
That's right. All right. He's loading mags.
All
right,
his
guys.
Government name. That's his slave name.
His government name. All right, guys. Let's go once around the horn and sign off. Let's start with you, Evan.
Well, I'm Evan from Radio Made Easy. Check me out, radiomadeeasy.com. I'm on all the platforms under the same name. If you are overwhelmed and intimidated by radios, or you're just curious, you're a regular person and you want to learn but you don't know how, I can help you. I can get you the equipment and I can train you. So check out my stuff. And also check out homesteadapprentice.com if you're interested in participating, competing, and showing what you're made of, and possibly winning some really cool stuff and getting some great experience and training out of it. Check out homesteadapprentice.com, and I look forward to meeting you.
Awesome. John.
SOE tactical gear, special operations equipment, because your name should say what you do. So I'm sure you can figure out what we do. I'm on all platforms, same name. You'll find us. I do a live every night at 9:00. We can have whatever conversation you want. As far as Homestead Apprentice, if you're not sure if you're cut out for it, you're probably not. However, guys that go to Buds, it's not ever the big college football player, and it's usually not the triathlete that makes it through Buds. It's the guy that is just willing to not quit that makes it through Buds. So check it out. If you're interested, put your application in. There's going to be a video process with that also. And you never know. We might call you up for that. We're going to call a lot more people in for the first piece of that, and then we're going to whittle that down to the finalists. So you can at least come out and get a taste of it. So join in there and join us tonight at 9:00 on YouTube, and we can talk about literally anything you guys want to talk about.
All right. I'm Nicole Sauce from the Living Free in Tennessee podcast, which is available on any podcatcher that you use. Plus, it's at LFTN on YouTube. And it's holiday gift giving season. And a great gift that does not clutter up the house is freshly home roasted coffee from hollowroast.com. I've actually, this year, sometimes you need to listen to what your customers say. I've had a lot of customers who have multiple people they want to send gifts to. And what we've come to is I just put a package together for them. They send me how many people, names and addresses. I write the cards for them and we send them out. That's nice. How we're doing that. And I just send you an invoice from my system rather than you having to write every individual one in on the website. So if you're interested in that, go to hollowroast.com and click on the contact form and we can get you going. See you guys next week.
Awesome.